Okay, so can I tell you the most embarrassing thing that happened to me at work last year?
Always.
So, context. New job, 3 weeks in. I'm still in that phase where you want everyone to think you're competent and calm and totally have it together.
The phase where you eat lunch at your desk so you don't have to make small talk.
Exactly that phase. And then my manager calls me into her office. And she's lovely, she's very warm, and she goes, "I just wanted to say, you've been doing really well." And I'm so relieved, right? And I want to be warm back. And I look at her and I say,
Oh no.
"Thank you so much. I will speak it to the team."
You will speak it.
I will speak it to the team.
What did she say?
She smiled. That specific smile. The smile that means, I understood you, but also, what?
The diplomatic smile.
I walked out of her office, sat down at my desk, and spent the next 20 minutes quietly dying inside, trying to figure out what I was supposed to say.
So what were you supposed to say?
I'll tell you in a second. But first, this is exactly why we're here today. Because speak, talk, tell, say, they all live in the same neighborhood. They're all about using your mouth to communicate. And yet, they are not the same.
And native speakers swap between them constantly, without thinking. Like, in the past 3 minutes, you used 3 of them. You said your manager called you, you told me the story, and you spoke incorrectly.
I did speak incorrectly, yes. Thank you for that.
And by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly which word lives where. No more diplomatic smiles.
No more diplomatic smiles. Welcome to Word Nerds. I'm Lila.
I'm Kai. Let's get into it. Okay, so here's the thing about these 4 words. Speak, talk, tell, say. If you look them up in a dictionary, they all basically say the same thing. To communicate verbally. And you're like, great, super helpful, very clarifying, thank you.
Completely useless.
Completely useless. Because the difference isn't in the meaning, it's in the grammar, it's in the feeling, it's in who's involved and what's actually happening between the people.
It's like, okay, you know how big and large both mean the same thing? But you'd never say, she has a large heart. You'd say, she has a big heart. And if someone said large heart, you'd just feel it was slightly wrong, even if you couldn't explain why.
Yes, exactly that. And with these 4 words, the stakes are higher because the grammar actually changes. It's not just a vibe thing. There are real rules. And when you get them wrong, you get the diplomatic smile.
We've all gotten the diplomatic smile.
If you're listening right now and you've ever said, he said me, or can you speak me the answer? First of all, same. Second of all, by the end of this episode, that's gone. Done. Behind you.
We're going word by word. Stories, examples, the mistakes people make most often, and one big idea at the end that ties all 4 together.
It's going to click. I promise it clicks.
It always clicks.
Okay, let's start with say. And I want to start here because, honestly, say is the one that causes the most damage when you get it wrong.
The said me problem.
The said me problem, which, okay, I have to be honest. When I first started really paying attention to how people learn English, I heard he said me so often that for about a week I started second-guessing myself. Like, wait, is said me actually a thing?
It got into your head.
It genuinely got into my head, and the answer is no. It is not a thing. So, say. Say is about the words, the actual content, what came out of someone's mouth. When you use say, you're zooming in on the message itself.
Okay, give me a real situation.
So, my friend Dan. Dan is the kind of person who gives advice that sounds very wise in the moment, and then you get home and you're like, what did he actually tell me to do, though?
I know a Dan.
Everyone knows a Dan. So last week, I'm having a rough time, a bit stressed, and Dan looks at me very seriously, and he says, and I quote, "Kai, the river doesn't fight the rocks. It flows around them."
What?
That's what I said. I said, Dan, what does that mean? And he said it was something his grandmother used to say. And I said, okay, but what do I actually do about my situation?
And what did he say?
He said, flow, man. Just flow.
He said, flow.
He said flow. But you heard what just happened there, right? He says, I said, he said. Every single time I'm quoting the actual words, the exact content. The river, the rocks, flow, man. That's say. It's like a camera, zooming in on the words themselves.
Okay, and the grammar rule, the one that fixes said me forever?
Right, so, say does not need a person after it. You just say something. She said it was fine. He said the meeting was canceled. The person, not required. But if you want to include them, you need to. She said to me. He said to the whole team. To is the bridge. Without it, it breaks.
So he said me the meeting was canceled.
Broken. No bridge. He said to me, correct. He told me, also perfect. But that's tell, which is next. And tell solves this exact problem.
Tell. Okay. What do you notice when I say these two sentences? She said the news. She told the news.
One sounds wrong.
She told the news sounds wrong because told needs someone, right? Like she told who?
That's it. That is the whole thing. Tell always needs a person. Always. You tell someone something. The someone is not optional. It's not a decoration. It's load-bearing.
The address on the package.
Tell is a delivery, and every delivery needs an address.
Speaking of deliveries, I have a story. About 2 years ago, I was seeing someone. Things were getting serious. I had told my friend Sarah everything. I had told my friend Priya everything. But I had not told my mom.
Oh.
Because my mom is wonderful, but she is also, how do I say this? Extremely enthusiastic about my personal life.
She wants grandchildren.
She wants grandchildren yesterday. So I'm keeping things quiet, right? And one day I'm on the phone with Sarah, and I specifically say, please don't tell my mom about David.
And Sarah told your mom about David.
Sarah told my mom about David within 48 hours.
Sarah?
And my mom called me, very casual, and she goes, so, Sarah tells me you've been seeing someone. And I went completely silent. And then she said, his name is David? And I said, yes. And she said, tell me everything.
Tell me everything.
Tell me everything. Which I had no choice. You cannot say no to tell me everything from your mother. It's not possible.
But listen, count the tells in that story.
I told Sarah. I told Priya. I hadn't told my mom. Don't tell my mom. Sarah told my mom. Sarah tells me. Tell me everything.
Every single one has a person attached, right? You cannot have tell without the someone. Sarah told about David. It just hangs there. It's waiting. Sarah told who?
Sarah told my mom. Then it's complete.
Exactly. And with say, no person needed. Say doesn't even have a seat reserved for people. It's just the message floating in the air.
I feel like Sarah should have remembered this rule before she told my mom.
I feel like Sarah knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah, she definitely did.
Okay, the word talk. And this is where something shifts. What do you think is the difference between say and talk? Just instinct.
Okay, instinct. Say feels like a snapshot. One moment, one message. Talk feels like a whole afternoon.
Yes, hold that image, because talk, it's not about the content, it's about the activity itself. The act of two people being in conversation together. You don't talk something, you talk to someone, you talk with someone, you talk about something. Talk is the whole landscape. Say is one photograph of that landscape.
The experience, not the information.
The experience, not the information. Story?
Story. So, my dad is not a big talker. Great man, very loving. But he grew up in a family where you just didn't sit around and talk about how you were feeling. You just got on with it, you know?
A lot of families like that.
And when I was about 22, I was going through a really hard time. Nothing dramatic, just that specific kind of lost feeling you get in your early 20s, right? Where you don't know what you're doing with your life, and everyone else seems to have it figured out.
Everyone feels that. Everyone.
Everyone feels that, and no one talks about it, which is part of the problem. Anyway, I remember sitting in the kitchen with my dad one evening. He made tea, which in our house means something serious is happening. And he sat down and he just said, "You seem like you need to talk."
Not, you need to tell me something. Not, say what's wrong. He said, you need to talk.
Because he wasn't asking for information. He was offering space. Like, let's just be two people in a room talking. No agenda, no specific thing you need to say. Just talk.
And that is the soul of this word. Talk is mutual. Talk is shared space. Even if one person is doing most of the speaking, the relationship is still there. And this is why you'd say, we need to talk, not we need to say or we need to tell. We need to talk means we need to enter a shared space together. It implies both people. It implies time.
Can I just say, "We need to talk" is the most terrifying sentence in the English language.
In any relationship. Doesn't matter. Lands like a thunderclap.
My stomach just dropped thinking about it.
Mine too. But grammatically, perfect. We need to say. Say what? Incomplete. We need to tell. Tell who? Also incomplete. But we need to talk. Complete. Terrifying, but complete.
Okay, talk to versus talk with. Because I know this trips people up.
Right, so both correct. But with feels more equal. Two people going back and forth. Two can feel slightly more one-directional, like one person is doing more of the communicating.
Like when your boss calls you in and says, "I need to talk to you." Not with you, to you.
Suddenly, it's not a collaboration. One tiny preposition, completely different power dynamic.
English is so petty.
English is extremely petty, and I love it. Okay, last word. And this one, people think it's easy because they've been using it for years. But then you look closely and realize it has this whole other dimension that nobody told you about.
Speak.
The word speak. And I want to start with a confession.
Ooh.
When I was about 19, I went to my first ever professional conference, and A very senior, very intimidating person came up to me afterward and said, "You should speak at one of these someday."
That's a compliment.
It is a compliment. And 19-year-old me, trying very hard to be cool, looked at this person and said, "Oh, I talk at things all the time."
You talk at things.
I talk at things all the time, apparently.
What did they say?
They smiled and walked away. And I went to get a sandwich and tried to forget it happened.
The diplomatic smile. It comes for everyone.
It comes for everyone. No one is safe. But here's why it happened. Speak carries weight. Speak has formality. Speak is what you do when there's an audience, a platform, a certain level of significance. Talk is jeans and a coffee. Speak is a jacket and a microphone. I talk at things sounds like I wander into rooms and start chatting at people. I speak at conferences sounds intentional, prepared. There's an audience who came to listen.
Same activity, completely different impression. And then there's the language thing, because speak almost always owns that territory.
Always. Do you speak French? She speaks 3 languages. You would never say, "Do you talk French?" Speak owns that completely.
Can I tell you how I discovered this? I'm maybe 15, 16, new student in school, just moved from another country. I want to be friendly. I go up to her, and instead of saying, "Do you speak?" I say very loudly in front of several people, "Can you talk my language?"
Can you talk my language?
And she looked at me. And everyone looked at me. And I said it again, slightly louder, because apparently that was my strategy.
No.
"Can you talk my language?" As if volume was the issue.
Lila,
She could not talk my language. She also could not speak it. We did not connect. I went home and told my mom I'd had a great day.
you told your mom.
I told my mom. She didn't need to know the details.
Do you speak my language is asking about ability. Does this language live in you? Can you operate in it? It's almost a question about identity. Talk is too casual for that. Talk is what you do in the moment. Speak is what you carry with you.
It's like the difference between "Can you swim?" and "Are you swimming right now?"
Exactly. Speak is the ability, the capacity, the thing that's part of who you are. Okay, we have all 4. And I feel like something is ready to click.
I feel it too. The big moment.
Okay, I'm going to say 4 sentences. Don't analyze, just feel.
Okay.
She said she was leaving.
I see the words. I see the message.
She told me she was leaving.
Oh, now I'm in it. Now I'm the person standing there, receiving that information.
She talked to me about leaving.
Now it's a whole conversation. There's history there. There's weight. We sat somewhere, and this happened over time.
She spoke about leaving.
Formal. Distant, almost. Like she addressed a room, or made a decision out loud.
4 sentences, same situation, completely different experience of it. Here's the pattern. Say and tell are information words, transactional. Something moves from one point to another. The difference is just the recipient. Tell always has one. Say doesn't need one.
The message versus the delivery.
The message versus the delivery. And then talk and speak. They're activity words, not the content, the event. Talk is everyday. Speak is elevated.
2 pairs.
2 pairs. And once you see that, the grammar makes sense almost automatically. Of course, tell needs a person. You're delivering something. You need an address. Of course, you wouldn't say, "We talked that the meeting was canceled." Talk isn't a container for information. It's the space where people meet.
It's like, okay, You know how in a restaurant there's a difference between the food and the meal? The food is the actual content, the dish, the thing on the plate. That's say and tell. But the meal is the whole experience, the table, the people you're with, and how long you stayed. That's talk and speak.
The food versus the meal.
You can describe the food without mentioning anyone. The pasta was incredible. Just the content. But the meal always involves people. The meal is relational.
I have never loved a metaphor more in my life.
It came to me just now.
That's the best kind. Okay, if you're listening right now, pause for a second. Genuinely, say these 4 sentences out loud. She said she was leaving. She told me she was leaving. She talked to me about leaving. She spoke about leaving. Feel where you are in each one, because that feeling, that instinct, that's what fluency actually is. Not memorizing rules, feeling the difference.
And you, friends, just felt it. Right now. That's not nothing. That takes real attention.
You're basically fluent now, and we haven't even done the recap.
Let's do the recap. Say. It's about the words themselves, the content. No person needed directly after it, and if you include one, you need 2. She said it was over. She said to me it was over. Never, never, she said me.
Tell. It's the delivery. Information going to a specific person. Always load-bearing. She told me. She told him. She told the whole team. No recipient, no tell.
Talk. It's the activity, the experience of being in conversation. Casual, mutual, everyday. You talk to people, you talk with people. You talk about things. The meal, not the food.
Speak. The elevated version of talk. Formal situations, official moments, public address, and languages. Always speak for languages. Do you speak French? She speaks 4 languages. Weight and intention. That's speak.
And the big idea. Say and tell are information words. Talk and speak are activity words. 2 pairs. Once you see the pairs, the grammar clicks almost by itself.
1 line to take with you. Say the message, tell a person, talk to connect, speak to impress.
Say the message, tell a person, talk to connect, speak to impress.
That's the whole episode in 1 line. Okay, now we want to hear from you guys. Think about a conversation you had today. Write 1 or 2 sentences in the comments using at least 2 of today's words. My friend told me she got the job, and I said, that's amazing. Real life, made up, whatever. Show us.
We read the comments, genuinely. The good ones, the funny ones, the brave ones. We read them in the next episode. Your sentence could end up on Word Nerds.
And if this episode helped you, even just 1 thing, even just said me is gone forever, please like and subscribe. It means we get to keep making this.
Which we very much want to do. Okay, see you next time.
Keep talking.
Keep speaking.
Use your words.
All 4 of them.
Bye.
Bye.